go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Coca. Happy birthday, dear, the greatest producer, the only person who works on Nothing Personal when all the other shows, which have our numbers, have 17 other people. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for working on your birthday, because without you, there can be no show. Happy birthday, Coca, and happy Halloween. Your birthday always falls on Halloween. My favorite day of the year. It's when I'm the biggest grump, too. Sign up if you want your apartment to be stopped at by people with candy. Nope. Sign up. Put something on your door in the neighborhood if you want to offer candy to the neighbors. Nope. Put a little sign on your hotel door if you want a little knocky knock and during the night. Nope. And I don't need Halloween to eat candy, thanks to the fact that I wasn't allowed to eat candy as a kid. Now I eat candy every day. Happily. Happy birthday, Coca. Word of the day, Matthew Coca, for October 31st, 2023, is 69. That is the Nothing Personal word of the day. Sorry. All right. This is serious business. We have to talk about James Harden, which we will. But if you think that James Harden is leading off this show, I have to give him a bit of oxygen, but it ain't leading. Not on Coca's birthday, and not on a day when we can start the show like this. 4869. 69. Nothing Personal word of the day. It is October 31st, 2023, and that is the percentage chance that the Texas Rangers have of winning the World Series. Because any team in a tie series who wins Game 3, taking a 2-1 lead in baseball, has a 69% chance of winning. 31% chance for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I know something of what I speak, because only 20 years ago, the Miami Marlins were called the Florida Marlins. The Marlins won Game 1 in Yankee Stadium, lost Game 2 in Yankee Stadium, went home tied at 1, lost Game 3 at home, the rain delay game, when Bud Selig yelled at me saying, "When's it going to stop raining?" I don't know, Bud. What am I, God? Well, get your weatherman on the phone, he said to me in the middle of the Fox broadcast. I don't have a weatherman. I'm getting my weatherman on the phone. I said, great, what's it like in Milwaukee right now? After a rain delay, we lost Game 3 and then won 3 games in a row and became part of the 31%. The Diamondbacks are hoping to do the same thing after what was a very eventful game last night. And if you're still not watching the World Series, it's getting and staying really good. The lead story is that Adolis Garcia is hurt. It is a very, very disappointing end to his season. And no, that has not been announced. He took a swing and he grabbed his side, which is what you do when you've hurt, strained, torn your oblique. When your oblique is hurt, compromised, you don't miss a day, you don't miss 2 days, you don't miss 4 days. Today is Wednesday. The series ends, if it goes 7, on Saturday. There is no oblique that gets better between a Tuesday night and a Saturday night. There is no scenario under which, if it is an oblique, that Garcia will return. The Rangers had him get an MRI. They're saying he's getting it today. Not true. He's going to get it last night. Don't forget the game ended at 8 p.m. local time in Arizona. And even ending at midnight, you find your way into a tube. It's not one of those things, hey, let's wait for the swelling to go down, and then we'll take a picture and see if there's a broken little bone in your wrist. You want the pictures immediately because you got to figure out your roster. The rules are that if you have a player who is hurt, you can take him off the roster and then replace him. You don't want to play shorthanded in any series. If there is a chance Garcia can come back, they will play shorthanded. There is no chance he will be in the lineup today. What they said was, after the game, we're going to wait and we're going to see. Bruce Bochy dropping a wait to see makes me happy. We're going to look at the next 24 hours and see what happens when he wakes up, and we'll let you know. They know. My hope is that it's nothing. My hope is that he had a cramp from eating hot dogs pregame. My hope is that when he swung the bat, something happened in his duodenum, and they cleared it out with some Pepto-Bismol, and we are GTG. Because I want Garcia to be in the series. I want him to have an opportunity to win MVP if they win, and I want to see what he does when he's at the plate. However, my experience tells me, watching him swing the bat and grab where he grabbed, it's not about the pregame spread. That's just bad luck. Garcia's agent will have something to do with this, and this is a tough one. Garcia is arbitration eligible for the first time in his career next season. Garcia has already done enough to go from the minimum, which he's making this year, about $750K, to making over $7 million next year. You don't want him to do anything that will in any way sacrifice his performance next season. He's not in danger of lowering his salary next year because of this injury, but winning the MVP would be a special accomplishment that would get him a tick higher than he would get not winning the MVP. It's not much higher, but it's higher. But what would be impacted would be his 2025 salary as a second-time eligible if his platform year, which becomes next year for the year after salary, is compromised by a long-term injury where he cannot play. So the agent is involved here, telling Garcia, listen, don't play if you can make it worse. And they're speaking to doctors. They are getting consultations. Instead of celebrating the Game 3 victory, Bochy and Chris Young, the EVP of baseball operations, the general manager for all intents and purposes, they're sitting with their staffs, and they're making decisions about Garcia and also about your favorite Mets player, 3-time Cy Young Award-winning Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer had 3 decent innings, got very lucky due to a base-running mistake by Christian Walker. You know, before I get to Scherzer, I lost my mind about this on CBS, and I'm going to be a little more calm because I slept for about 42 minutes, so I'm going to be calm. I was so excited for Coca's birthday. I couldn't sleep at all. So excited waiting for whether or not Woj would drop a bomb at 3 in the morning. A Woj bomb. Wow, that's, you know what? We're not going to call that anymore. That is a terrible thing to say when bombs are actually being dropped. So let's just call it a Woj scoop about the Harden trade. But all I kept thinking about was Christian Walker. If you didn't see a highlight, go YouTube this or Google this. Christian Walker is their first baseman. He's a slugger. He's had a horrific postseason. The Diamondbacks fans gave him a standing ovation before his first at-bat, trying to do what the Phillies fans, that great fan base, did for Trey Turner when Trey Turner was slumping in August, and then Trey Turner played like an MVP the rest of the way until he wasn't, and the team got eliminated. So Christian Walker gets a standing ovation and then proceeds to hit a monstrous double in the bottom of the second inning. He's on second base, and then there's a base hit. He's going to score. He's running past second base. He starts when the hit comes. He crosses third. He's staring at his shoes. He runs through a stop sign and gets thrown out by Garcia, who has an unbelievable outfield arm. The third base coach knows this. It could have been first and third, no outs. Instead, Pham gets to second on the throw, and it's man on second, 1 out. When it was man on second, no outs with a base hit, you stop at third, it's first and third, no outs. That's an easy baseball play. There's no desperation. It's not the bottom of the 9th inning where you take the chance and make sure it's a perfect throw, and if you lose, you lose. This is the beginning of the game. The third base coach knows this, so he puts up the stop sign. Christian Walker violated the rule, and it's a simple rule for all of you baseball players out there. When you are running from second to home, you're supposed to look up and lock eyes with your third base coach, who's going to be about 30 feet down the line figuring out whether you should go. And what you're looking for is the handout, which means talk to the hand because the brain ain't listening. Or I'm going to do this, which nothing personal with David Sampson YouTube channel. I'm moving my arm in a circular motion saying go, go, go. They're very different. Go, go, go. Stop, stop, stop. But if you're looking at your shoe tops, trying to count the laces, then maybe you're going to miss the sign. Christian Walker got thrown out, and before you know it, Scherzer gets out of the inning. Then, to make matters worse, Brandon Pfaadt gives up runs, a RBI double to Simeon, a 2-run homer by Seager, who will now be the MVP, if deservedly, second MVP. I think he won in 20 with the Dodgers. Also in Arlington. If Seager wins the MVP in Game 6 or 7, he will have won the MVP 2 out of the last 4 World Series in the same building for 2 different teams. That's sort of cool. You don't see that every day. As a matter of fact, you never see that because World Series aren't played on neutral. Oh, but a guy could be traded in theory. No, but yeah, he'd be traded, which is what happened, except as a free agent. So Max Scherzer has a first inning, second inning, third inning, and all of a sudden, John Gray's in the game, who I thought was going to start Game 4 today. He's in the game in the 4th inning of Game 3. And I'm wondering, I can't believe that they're taking Scherzer out. For the first time, he's actually being somewhat effective. He could give them more than only 3 innings. And then we hear that he's hurt. His back tightened up, back spasms, OU triple T. And I just kept thinking, my God, someone is going to have to tell Max Scherzer that he is off the postseason roster, and Max and Scotty Boras are not going to be happy. So after a game, when you've got injuries, you go to the manager's office and you sit and you talk, and you involve the team president and you involve the GM and your head of player development and the manager. You bring in the pitching coach for talking about pitchers. You bring in the hitting coach to talk about hitters. While people are showering, they're eating, they're getting food, they're thinking about when the bus is going back to the hotel. And what they're deciding is, what are we doing with these injured players? And let's think about our lineup for tomorrow. And by the way, we have to announce a starter. And they announced Andrew Heaney, by the way. When an injured player is not going to return, you get to replace him on the roster. In order to replace a player, you have to tell the player that player is no longer eligible. So they're sitting there in the visiting clubhouse managers, the visiting manager's office in the visiting clubhouse, and they're putting their fingers on their nose like children, saying, you tell Max, you tell Max. I don't want to tell Max. I'm not telling Max. And what they decided was, and I would have done the exact same thing, you know what? Why don't we just wait? But waiting means you're playing short. Because you had a bullpen game yesterday because you had Gray go 3, you had Scherzer go 3, and then you had your 7th, 8th, and 9th guys, Sabors, Chapman, and Leclerc go. You could bring in another pitcher to replace Scherzer who can help in Game 4, Andrew Heaney. Right now, tonight, you could have a player there ready and dressed. But that means you're telling Max Scherzer he's not starting Game 7. And I'm good with that. A, I don't want a Game 7. I'd like to win in under 7 games if I'm the Rangers. But B, you're up 2-1. You could also lose in 6 games, like Derek Jeter did in 03. However, Max is saying, give me 48 hours. That was his line at the end of the game. He says, I don't know, but I may be able to get over it in 48 hours. That really screws the Rangers. It's very telling about Max, isn't it? Not about the team. Because 48 hours, that means that's Thursday night. That's the eve of Game 6, when either they're going to be able to clinch in a Game 6 because they're up 3-2, or they will have won in 5, 4-1, so there's no problem. They just played short in Games 4 and 5. But what he's saying is, play short Game 4 and 5, and then you'll have me for Game 7. What he's not saying is, You really haven't had me in the games I've started because I'm going 3 innings at most anyway. But man, I was going well. I could have given you 5 yesterday, but for the back spasm. So the Rangers have to make a decision with Max Scherzer, and I expect them to make that decision, and I expect him to be replaced on the roster. The Garcia situation is tougher. You don't announce it last night, of course. You don't want to give any advantage to the Diamondbacks. But when they wake up today, when they compulsory have to meet the media and submit their roster to baseball and submit their starting lineup to baseball, it's not going to be a secret whether Garcia is playing. When the Diamondbacks are preparing for tonight, they're going to prepare for Garcia, but they're also going to prepare for him not being around. I don't see a scenario under which he is not replaced by tonight, and that is too bad. So that's what was going on during the course of the game last night, the 2 injuries. There were 2 stories surrounding the game that must be discussed. The first one is, I'm not going to ignore it, even though I could. The World Series ratings were released for Game 1, and they were released as lower. Only 9.17 million people watched. During COVID, 9.27 watched the Bubble World Series. What's going on with baseball? But then Fox released a press release that's saying, hey, it was still the most watched game in prime time across all networks, across all shows, sports or non-sports. The problem with these ratings releases, and we've discussed it with John Skipper and Pablo Torre over on Metalark, part of the Sporting Class, the broadcasters don't care about the ratings. They don't pay leagues based on ratings. The advertising rates for the World Series don't depend on the team. They don't depend on the rating, no matter what your advertising company may tell you. They really don't. What you're paying for is winning the night, and you're paying for being associated as a national sponsor of baseball. Everybody waits, though. It's a PR nightmare. And I've spent years trying to figure out how to spin those nightmares by saying it's the most watched primetime show, or we're up 17.9% in males 18 to 54, and we're up 26.9% in females aged 54 to 95. Whatever I could do to make things sound better, all because we live in this crazy world where we're obsessed with ratings. I get it. I think it's because we like to compare. How many people are watching? Is it cool to be watching? Is it not cool? The real leading indicator of coolness is that the best celebrity they can pan to in the World Series last night was CC Sabathia. And then one other night was Travis Kelce and Luka. I like Luka and Dirk, don't get me wrong. But when the NBA plays its finals or the Super Bowl, it's celebrities galore, courtside, in the suite. If I'm baseball, I would spend money. And I've asked about this before, and I've been rebuked. There is no shame in spending money to get celebrities to come to your games. It's the same as giving celebrities free tickets when they go to your basketball games. What's the difference if you give them a ticket that you could sell for $3,000, or you pay their expenses and give them a $10,000 stipend and say, hey, do you mind coming to Phoenix from LA? We'll fly you in on a jet, sit at the game, enjoy, because we want to make it seem cool. That's what I would do. There are PR firms you can hire where you can get celebrities to come and go to your events, whether it's a corporate event, whether it's a bar mitzvah, or whether it's a World Series game. That's what I would do so we can have a story to tell. Yeah, the ratings sucked, but look at how cool it is to go to this game. The second story that came out yesterday, in my mind, from the game, that will be talked about, and if it's not, it should be. And this is not me going against the home plate umpire, Alfonso Marquez. It's not about that. It's about MLB not willing to go to an automatic strike zone next season. They're not doing it, and they should. It's about the umpires not willing to go to a, quote, robot ump because they, A, want to save their jobs, and B, They don't want to be devalued in their jobs as the home plate umpire, which is the best assignment and what everybody wants every game. The ball and strike calls in the ninth inning last night were so bad that it embarrassed baseball. When you've got announcers who are there, in Joe Davis and John Smoltz, who are there to promote your game, to protect your game, to help your game, when they are saying, oi, that is not a ball. Oh, that's not a strike. Oh, that's a makeup call. They have no choice but to draw attention because they would look foolish if they didn't. And they're drawing attention to an avoidable problem. The technology exists today. And if you don't want to go to the automatic ball strike call, fine. Go to the challenge system used in tennis right now. We've got the technology. Make it so I get 5 challenges on ball and strike, and it's instantaneous. It's not umpires going to New York. It's right there on the Jumbotron. It gets said right into the earpiece, strike ball. Have you ever watched tennis? It happens in a second. And there's a shadow of a ball that's either on the line or not on the line. It catches a bit of the line or it doesn't. Either it's a strike or a ball. We've got a rule book. In the rule book in baseball, you have the definition of the strike zone. It's defined. It's not that, oh, this umpire has a big strike zone. This umpire has a small strike zone. No. It's a defined strike zone by rule. There is no interpretation. It's not like a Supreme Court case where, oh, let's see if we can interpret what the holding is and figure out what to do next. No. It's just a strike zone. As you can tell, I'm angry. Because it's not necessary. It's self-inflicted. All right. Diamondbacks lost to the Rangers. That means we lost our pick of the day. We're 158 and 159. We're going Diamondbacks again. Mantiply over Heaney. Although I'm just saying the Rangers bullpen is going to be hard-pressed to go twice in a row, and the Diamondbacks are not going to be held to 1 run twice in a row. So the Diamondbacks are looking to tie the series, and I think they will, and it will not take an Alex Gonzalez walk-off home run to do it. All right, let's get to James Harden. I'm doing it right now. Woj, in the middle of the night, announced that James Harden is gone. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Steve Ballmer is not very smart. Steve Ballmer is the owner of the Clippers, and he just acquired another guy to go with Russell Westbrook. Yes, they used to play together in OKC. Wait a minute, they still have Paul George, and they have Kawhi Leonard. Wow, that's the greatest team ever assembled. Of 5 years ago. How exactly does Steve Ballmer think this is a good idea? James Harden has not played for the Sixers this year because James Harden during the offseason said, I'm not playing for the Sixers. And you thought he was kidding? Daryl Morey said, I'm not trading you. And James Harden said, yes, you will. And Daryl Morey said, no, I won't. You're going to have to sit out and we're going to fine you. And James Harden said, fine. I'm going to go away for 10 days, but I'll be back just in time to get my money, and I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to make you put security on me, so not let me board the team plane. Adam Silver's calling up Josh Harris saying, hey, if you could take a minute away from the Commanders and focus on the Sixers, focus on the dumpster fire that you've created in the NBA, could you do me a small favor and figure out the Harden situation? Because I'm sick and tired of it. I got to deal with load management stuff after 3 games. I don't have time to think about James Harden. Josh Harris said, hold on. Let me make a call. Hey, Ron, we really need to take care of the Harden situation. Can you just get him moved to L.A.? Josh, this is Ron Rivera. Oh, crikey. Sorry, wrong team. Hey, Daryl. Daryl? Yeah, I know we haven't spoken. Sorry. No, I still love the Sixers for sure. No, I totally support you. But do me a favor. Right now, trade Harden to the Clippers. No, I don't want to give him his wish. Last night in the middle of the night, James Harden was traded. Get ready. Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, multiple draft picks, pick swap. And in return, the Clippers got James Harden, PJ Tucker, and another guy. And it's Nick Batum, sorry. A guy named Filip Petrusev. Not that interesting other than to talk about what Steve Ballmer's doing and what the ramifications are for the Sixers. The Sixers acquired a bunch of expiring contracts. James Harden had to give up $5 million in this deal. He gets a bonus in his contract above everything that he would get $5 million if he's traded, but he had to waive that because then financially under the cap it wouldn't have worked. And every contract that the Sixers got is an expiring contract. How great is that? It's the anti-Ewing trade. If you know, you know. So the Sixers are in position for Daryl Morey to tell Joel Embiid, don't leave. I know you're sad about Harden and what a disgrace it was, but do me a small favor. We have so much space here that we're going to bring you one or two of the best superstars and none of the players currently on the Clippers. It's really quite remarkable. For Daryl Morey, if you want to judge this situation, he was absolutely crushed. He's traded Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, 2 first-round picks to the Nets for Harden and Paul Millsap, not the singer. So really what he traded was 2 picks, and a lot of headaches. Do we say that James Harden got what he wanted? How do you avoid that? He wanted to go to the Clippers, and he was sent to the Clippers. I wanted to send him to the Raptors. I wanted to send him anywhere other than the Clippers, except no one wanted him. The only owner who wanted to touch James Harden was a desperate, rich owner who hasn't won a thing since he bought his team. He's collecting names the way I collect baseball cards, thinking this is like a fantasy team. We've got these 4 great players. Who's going to want to play us? People are lining up to play the Clippers. James Harden's not the MVP anymore. That's like saying Max Scherzer's the Cy Young Award-winning pitcher. Yeah, that's true. He won a Cy Young Award, but he ain't pitching like one. Yes, James Harden was a fantastic one-on-one player who won an MVP or 2. Outstanding. Don't want to take that away from him. That's not him anymore. Yes, Kawhi Leonard won a title with the Raptors. Really, really good. Paul George, also good. Can't stay on the court. So what exactly were the Clippers doing? They were being LA. They were being Ballmer. Did Daryl Morey take advantage of them? No. Because taking advantage would have been not giving Harden what he wants. We had a bunch of wait to sees when we tell you something's going to happen and we promise we'll revisit it both positively and negatively. I told you he was going to get traded to the Clippers back on June 30th. This is a long time ago. 4 months ago when this was going on. I told you, just wait. James Harden will get traded to the Clippers. Guess what? I was right. And then, only a month and a half later, on August 14th, 2.5 full months before the NBA season started, or 2 months and 10 days, I told you James Harden will not play a minute for the Sixers this coming season, which is the season we're in now. I was right. It wasn't a tenable situation. The only pending wait to sees I have now about Harden were on June 30th, I gave you a double, and I said, whoever trades for him, and it will be the Clippers, will not be a top 4 seed. That wait to see is still open, but I feel really good about that. The Clippers will not be a top 4 seed. I don't care that they have James Harden. The other open wait to see is only from 10 days ago or 12 days ago. On October 19th, I said the Sixers will fine Harden. I'm not taking the loss yet because we haven't heard, though I am concerned. I believe as part of this, just to get rid of Harden and not think about it anymore, they may have said to themselves, hey, let's not even bother. We could try to collect his money. We could try to garnish his wages, but let's not even bother. But we haven't seen an announcement, and I would have fined him for every preseason practice and game he missed and for not being physically able to play in the first game, even though he claimed he was. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm going to leave that open. Can't wait to watch the Clippers implode. It's going to happen. All right, we come back. We're going to review the new movie on Netflix called Pain Hustlers. And then I've got an update on the Oakland A's that I think you're going to want to hear. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Coca Birthday Show. It is October 31st. Happy Halloween to those who celebrate. Make sure you brush your teeth before you go to bed. Don't eat anything that's not wrapped in its original wrapping. And try not to get a tummy ache. Thank you for downloading, subscribing. Tell your friends that we have fun every day at 8 a.m. on Nothing Personal with David Sampson. Thank you for all the people who are buying our specialty stuff on davidsampsonpodcast.com. And tomorrow, we will be unveiling the newest merch drop, the newest specialty shirt, and I think you're going to like it just in time, well, a little early for the holidays. And also, since it is getting cold, you're going to see some new hoodies up there. I watched the new Netflix movie. I don't know why I do this, Coca. I do, actually. Let me say it a better way. Emily Blunt, I like you because my alarm song, and I don't wake up to the alarm very often, really at all, is Everything by Michael Bublé. And I believe that that song was written when he was dating Emily Blunt, about Emily Blunt, who's now married to the guy from John Krasinski, the guy from The Office, and Jack Ryan and all sorts of other stuff. Any movie she's in, one of my favorite movies, Edge of Tomorrow, I just love her. She's in a new movie with Chris Evans, the guy who plays Captain America, and Catherine O'Hara, Moira from Schitt's Creek. So I'm going to watch this movie no matter what, but it's about opioids. It's called Pain Hustlers, and it's about people who make money off other people's addiction. And we have seen so much content. It started with Dope Sick. Then there was the Matthew Broderick thing that I didn't watch. All about the Sackler family and all about this crisis that is claiming the lives of so many. It is such a nightmare. And we just had an example 2 days ago. Matthew Perry from Friends passed away at 54 years old. At the height of his addiction, he was taking 55 Vicodin a day, he said, in an interview with Diane Sawyer. Going to open houses on Sundays to take pills out of their medicine cabinets. And we're creating content. It's sort of like all the war content we create. I understand that people want to watch it. I do. I guess I would ask you this. When you're watching Pain Hustlers, Emily Blunt is the heroine. Emily Blunt took advantage of an opportunity to make money and then realized, I'm making money at the expense of people's lives. In the real world, there's a lot of industries that make money based on the loss of life. How about all the defense contractors? How about anyone who's inventing anything or manufacturing anything war-related? Bullets, guns, bulletproof vests. People are profiting off war. People are profiting off pain. We're never going to get to a place where negatives don't equal positives on the bottom line. But it's nice to tell a story of people who want to pass the buck and say, not me, not on my watch. I'm going to let someone else profit. And then if everybody would say that, then maybe these pills would disappear. And maybe war would disappear. And maybe a cow will jump over the moon. The movie is only okay. The subject matter is very important. So my advice to you is if you want to be educated about the opioid crisis, I would watch Dope Sick with Michael Keaton. If you want to be entertained by Emily Blunt and Chris Evans and Moira, watch Pain Hustlers. But then once you're done with either of those, do your homework. Read articles. Speak to people about this crisis and make sure you do not become a part of it and you stop people, if possible, from going down that rabbit hole. All right, let's get to the A's update. I have spent a lot of time on this show talking about the Oakland A's and their potential relocation to Las Vegas. I have told you that John Fisher has done everything out of a playbook that he is writing himself because it is not a playbook that I would subscribe to. My playbook was to threaten relocation, but not to relocate. Granted, I wasn't able to relocate, but there was no market that we saw that was going to be better than Miami. And that's what baseball saw as well. It was not about unjustly enriching our owner. The commissioner's office and the other owners don't want to unjustly enrich John Fisher. This is about the inability to get a deal done in Oakland. There has been a ton of things written that Oakland was at the table, that they were close to a deal at the Howard Terminal. And tomato, tomato, whether they were close or not, my view has always been that there is a deal to be done to keep the team in Oakland. Not that he's going to be forced to sell, because he will never be forced to sell. You can do reverse boycotts, you can wear T-shirts, you can be angry all you want. Major League Baseball owners do not want to force an owner to sell unless the owner is Daniel Snyder and unless you've done things that are really beyond the pale, like stealing from other owners. Revenue sharing is not stealing, because the other owners are made painfully aware of the reality of the revenue situation in Oakland. And the funny part is, all the other owners would do exactly what John Fisher has done in Oakland if they owned Oakland. Where John Fisher has made the mistake is in the way he's handled the move from Oakland to Vegas, in a way that has not ingratiated himself in Vegas or allowed him to leave with any modicum of love or even financial attention in Oakland. So when you go scorched earth in Oakland, the only way you do that is when you're running into the embracing arms of another city. But in Las Vegas, he's got several issues that are not worked out yet. One, he does not have a stadium designed for the amount of acreage that he has in the deal with Bally's. Two, he's got a group of teachers, and who doesn't love teachers, who want to put the public financing that he got in that crazy special session, wants to put that to a referendum, and they may just have the ability to do it. Three, the private financing that he's working on is going to put him in a position, because of the interest rate and the cost of capital, that it's going to be very difficult to increase his payroll significantly in Las Vegas, which defeats the purpose of the move, because the hope is that you go into a new city or a new stadium with a bigger payroll and win. We got the first part right, got the bigger payroll, just didn't win, got the second part wrong. On top of that, we're not hearing anything from Fisher. What we're hearing is that Major League Baseball is going to vote on relocation during the November owners' meetings in Arlington, Texas. That is amazing. If Texas wins the World Series, they get to host the owners' meeting where they get congratulated and get an ovation for winning the World Series. Then on the agenda, and what will overpower any news about Texas or rule changes or anything else, will be the free agency of Ohtani and will be this vote on the Oakland A's. There have been two comments that we should be paying attention to. One, when Rob Manfred was asked before the World Series started, before Game 1, about the A's relocation, he said, if there was an adverse development with respect to the referendum, that would be a significant development. That's all I can say about that. What he's trying to lay the groundwork for is that relocation vote notwithstanding, if there is another delay, and a delay would be caused by a referendum that would take away the state funding, in theory, we're not sure what we would do, but we know it wouldn't be good. But that is an if, not a when. There is no guarantee that referendum is going to pass, it's going to work, it's going to even be on the ballot. What Rob is doing is giving a message to the people in Las Vegas with that quote. Listen, no referendum. But then you had a Tony Clark quote, the head of the union. He said, very critical of the A's relocation, I do find it interesting that amid the conversation and dialogue around finances, rather than staying in the sixth largest market, they're moving to a market that may very well have them in the perpetual cycle of receiving revenue sharing. NSS, baby. You know what that stands for. Tony, you know better. There will be teams who receive revenue sharing. The fact that Oakland is going to receive revenue sharing, whether they're in Oakland or in Las Vegas, doesn't matter. It's the same amount of revenue sharing from the big market clubs. It's a matter of allocation. And Tony, don't you want expansion? Because then your union will have 52 new jobs. And you know you can't get expansion until Oakland and Tampa finish their stadium situation. So what you should be saying is, hallelujah, brilliant, so happy. His quote should have been, I am very thankful that the Oakland situation will finally be over. We very much look forward to baseball taking the next step in the 21st century, and we await with excitement expansion to 32 teams. That's all he should be saying. Him talking about revenue sharing, you think that the owners don't know that Vegas is a smaller TV market? You think the owners don't realize that the size of the TV market doesn't matter as much anymore? It matters about direct to consumer and who's going to buy streaming and at what number. You think baseball isn't aware that they're waiving the relocation fee for John Fisher, but they're going to get expansion fees? That's the reward. It's faster expansion fees to the owners. That's why the owners were okay. And getting them relocated to Vegas will happen faster than getting a building done in Oakland? You think baseball isn't weighing those two factors? That if it were true, in fact, that Oakland had a deal that was as fully baked as the politicians would make you think, you don't think that would be a factor for the owners? Which means the deal that Oakland had for the A's that they are claiming to be fully baked and claiming that it was only John Fisher who stopped it from happening, whether that's true or not, and I'm not opining, baseball doesn't believe it to be true. Will Oakland get an expansion team? They may. But here's the funny thing about what's happening in November. There will be a relocation vote, and it will pass. However, even with the relocation vote, and even with it passing, it still doesn't mean that the A's are moving to Vegas. Now, that may sound counterintuitive, and I may be the only voice in the media to say this. But let me explain. When Rob Manfred is telling you about the problem that could happen with the referendum, what he's saying is if we lose the $380 million from the state, the local authorities are going to have to come up with it because the deal will not make sense to John Fisher to put an extra $380 million into it. You can come up with $30 million. You can find a way to maneuver $75 million. The economics of a stadium deal, when your contribution has to go up by $380 and it gets delayed by yet an extra year, no less, because that's the reality of what this referendum would mean in Vegas. It would mean another delay and another hole in financing. And Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan or whatever shop is doing their financing, and I think it's Goldman Sachs and I think it's at a high interest rate, whether you think Fisher's family can afford another $380 or not relevant. The capital markets will not avail themselves. The team will not be able to secure an extra $380 million. They're going to need partners. They're going to need to sell equity. They're going to need to do something other than what can happen quickly. That's the reason why that even after a relocation vote, and wait to see, by the way, official wait to see, the relocation vote will not get delayed. It's going to happen during the November owners' meetings, even though we're all calling for it to be delayed because we don't think that it's a fully baked relocation packet. We don't think that the other owners have enough information. We don't think that there's enough of a design of the stadium or an understanding of the budget or an understanding of their pro formas, their financials. We don't know enough about the timeline. We don't yet know where they're going to play in the interim period, and Rob Manfred said that directly. We don't know any of those things. Yet, there is a reason that MLB wants to get the vote done. They want to send a message to Vegas. They want to send a message to Oakland. And they want to get this over with because this offseason should be dominated by Ohtani's free agency, by the excitement of a season upcoming. Enough of all of this stadium drama. That's why in the first owners meeting after the World Series, the relocation of the Oakland A's will be voted on, and it will pass. For baseball, for John Fisher, for Oakland, for Vegas, for Tony Clark, and for Rob Manfred, it's just business. See you tomorrow, Coca. Enjoy your birthday. This is nothing personal.